Stacie's Corner. I'm Stacie, and continue the City of Bones story. Luke is telling Clary about when he met his mom. Both Luke and Jocelyn were kids when they first met, and when they were old enough to go to school, their families sent them off to Alcanta, the glass city, to do their schooling. And when they got there, they met Valentine. And Valentine was the most popular boy in school. He was rich and very smart. And Jocelyn was also well off as well. But Luke, he was from a country home and he was not very smart, he said, and they were not very rich. They were just a simple country family. And so he was struggling in his studies, and even the smallest marks from the runes that they put on the kids, he could barely handle them. But one day, Valentine put him under his wing and helped him with the studies, helped him to be able to be strong enough to bear the marks, and so he flourished. Luke flourished in his studies, and he was able to do handle the marks and be a good shadow hunter, and he also killed his first demon. And then later on, Valentine put Hodge Starkweather and Marcy Trueblood and Robert Lightwood under his belt too. And Jocelyn would stand on the sidelines and calling everybody Valentine's fans, and stuff like that, until one day Valentine came back to school after losing his father. His father went on a werewolf raid, and he died by one of the wolves. And when Valentine came back, he was wearing the red marks of mourning, and he was totally different. His attitude was different. He was colder and much angry, very angry. And so it made Luke wanted to please him more. And he never would lash out against Valentine's anger. He just didn't want to displease him. And after his father died, he just wanted to go after all the downworlders. He wanted to be rid of everything, and so he changed his tactics. So it seems like when his father died, he just became dark, which I understand that, but still, everybody else around him kind of was thinking that this is not right, all except the Lightwoods. The Lightwoods got, Marcy and Robert got married, and also Valentine and Jocelyn got married after they got done with school. And Jocelyn would confide in Luke in saying that Valentine's just being weird. He would be down in the basement for hours at a time, and she would hear screams in the walls. And so Luke came to Valentine and explained to her this is what is going on, and he said, "Don't worry about it. She's just she's just thinking, she's just a woman that's pregnant and just having bad imaginations." And so that night, Valentine and Luke decided to go towards do a raid on a werewolf area, and they were supposed to have each other's back. But Valentine did not have Luke's back because Luke got attacked by a wolf. A wolf bit him in the shoulder, and he woke up in Jocelyn Valentine's house, and he healed rather well, but they were not sure if he was going to turn or not, so they kept an eye on him. So after 3 weeks passed, he turned on the first moon. And when that happened, when he came back to the house the next day, after waking up and with a bloody carcass in front of him and being all torn and everything, with his clothes and stuff, he went back to Valentine's house, and they waited for him. And Valentine walked out with him and brought his father's dagger, and he said he just couldn't kill him because it was Luke. And he gave Luke the dagger and said, "You should kill yourself. You should go out there and end your life, because now you're not one of us," type of thing. So Luke left with a dagger, and he ran and ran and ran until he got to the wolf encampment to find out, to have a fight with the wolf that turned him, and it came to be the leader of the pack. So they fought and fought, and the leader of the pack did not know, was shocked to have Luke's rage so fierce, and they fought and fought all night long. But by morning, Luke was able to take his dagger and slice it into the wolf's neck, and he thought that the pack would go after him for killing their leader. But when he looked up, he saw that all the wolves knelt down and called him master. So he became the leader of that pack, and he found out that's their custom. And so he stayed there and was their leader. And one day, his second in command said there's a woman out near the encampment, and he knew who it was. He knew it was Jocelyn, and he ran, even though his second in command did not like it. So he goes there, and she's not pregnant no more, but she's pale and thin, and she's saying that they're about the uprising that Valentine and his people are going to be doing, and that they had demons to help them to go against the courts, and they're going to wait till they're all in the hall of the angel, where they're not going to have any weapons, and they're going to be defenseless. So he gets his pack, and he goes and waits by the cords, and everybody comes in, downworlders and the shadow hunters all come into the hall and sit down. And right when they're about to sign, Valentine and all of his minions, the circle, stand up with their weapons and start attacking. And Jocelyn runs to the back and opens the door, and Luke's pack comes in and helps, and fairies and the vampires and anybody that they could get on their side, because they warned them what's going to happen. So they're doing all this, they're fighting against, and Jocelyn also told the warlocks which ones were part of the circle, but then they also realized that there was more that came into the circle of Valentine's cult. And so some of the shadow hunters that were not part also died, and they got blamed for it. But during this commotion, Luke found Valentine, and he started they started fighting, saying that I should have killed you when I had the chance, because you're just a dog, that you're not one of us anymore. And so they fought and fought, and Jocelyn sees that, and she runs up to him and says, "Valentine, stop it, it's Luke." And he grabs her and brings her to him and puts a dagger to her throat, and so Luke backs off. And when that happens, Valentine rips off this locket that's on around Jocelyn and throws it at Luke, and it's silver, so it burns him. And they run off. He takes Jocelyn and they run off, and Luke follows. And by the time they get there, Jocelyn's left outside somewhere, and so she thinks that, oh my God, there's going to be something bad happening. So she gets on a horse and she runs, and Luke gets into his wolf form and he runs, and by the time they get to her house, it's burnt to the ground. And the reason why it burnt so fast is because he used some demon type of power or spell that made it go burn so fast. And inside the burnt remains, they found the remains of her mother and father, a medal or something that showed the symbol of the circle that Valentine wore, so it looked like he was dead, and also the remains of her child, of her son. So when they get back, she wants to leave, so they run off. Luke and Jocelyn run to Paris, and she says, I can't do this, I can't go back home, I want nothing to do with it. And he wants to know why, and she says, because I'm pregnant, and I don't want her to have to deal with that, I don't want her to see that anymore, or see that, so I'm going to run off. So she had a piece of jewelry, and she sold, she pawned it or something, and that's how she got her money to get an airline ticket. And for her to do that, he let her go, because if she didn't want nothing a part of the shadow world, or the that means she didn't want nothing to do with him either. So he let her go, and he went back to his pack, and he was not the same, because she was always in the back of his mind. But he was a fair and just leader, and he did go on hunts and stuff like that, but he couldn't make any friends with the other wolf people or get a mate. So when the courts happened again, he went and signed the peace treaty, and while he was there, he saw the Lightwoods, and they were shocked to see him, and because they thought he was dead. And he saw Hodge, and when he was going to go back to, he was going to leave for Paris, and they were leaving to New York because they got exiled, and the Lightwoods had higher friends in the Clave, so that's why they got a lesser thing, whereas Hodge, if he stepped out of the Institute, he would die instantly. And so he goes to Paris, and trying to backtrack, try to catch, to see if he could find Jocelyn, because he just couldn't be without her. And so he goes to Paris, and he goes somewhere in the mountains and stuff like that, but in the back of his mind he kept on saying New York, New York, because that's where the shadow hunters that were exiled went to. So he went to New York, and he couldn't find anything. He looked everywhere. I even sent messages to the downworld to see if they ever heard about her or anything like that, and there was nothing. So he's just feeling really down in the dumps. Until one night, he went by this art gallery, and in the art gallery he saw this painting, and he knew it was Jocelyn's because it had a landscape of from her home. Because when she looked out of her window at her home in Idris, it showed the landscape that she would remember. So she did a painting of it. And in the corner had Jocelyn Frey, and that's the first time he actually got to know her new name. So he found out where she lived, and walked up the stairs and knocked on the door, and this little girl with bright red hair and braids answered it, and then here comes her mom, Jocelyn, as he remembered her when they were kids, walking towards the door as well. And that's all I was able to read today. I hope you like it. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Love you. Bye.